Good morning, and welcome to CabWriter Comprehensive Part 1, a multi-part series in which I'll show you how to draw the kitchen in front of you using CabWriter. This kitchen was not designed to be your perfect kitchen. Please don't write me and ask me about kitchen triangles and whether the refrigerator's in the right place relative to the oven and things like that. I designed this kitchen as a teaching aid, primarily to show you as many different types of cabinets and cabinet situations as I could, in hopes of teaching you how to use CabWriter. So it may be a bit of an awkward kitchen design, but hopefully it will be an effective learning tool. Let's just take a walk through it a little bit. Here you see a floor-to-ceiling or full height cabinet drawn with what we call a divided base. It has two long doors, and it'll probably be used for something like a broom closet or something like that, some kind of storage that requires a tall cabinet. We have the standard refrigerator cabinet with two doors on top. The island is a little different. The front of the island is 4 inches lower than the standard countertop height, and that's for baking, making pies or something like this. Under it are standard base cabinets, but behind it are non-standard base cabinets. They're base cabinets that are the same depth as wall cabinets with a few doors. This is actually a 2-box cabinet, each box having 2 doors. And it's got a countertop, a curved countertop here, and a place to put stools and people to sit at the countertop. Here you'll see a small built-in microwave oven compartment, and below it, storage area with 2 doors. These are pretty standard cabinets up top, except this again is a divided upper, and it allows you to put things like drawers in upper cabinets. Small little drawers here. This is also part of the divided upper, a wine cabinet. Not a lot to, I should mention down here, this cabinet right here is the Lazy Susan. This is a 4-drawer bank, a 3-drawer bank, a trash, your standard trash area here with another drawer above it, sink cabinet, 3-drawer bank. This cabinet actually is a 2-box cabinet, 1 box being the Lazy Susan. I'm sorry, a 3-box cabinet, 1 box being the Lazy Susan, 1 box being the 3-drawer bank, and 1 box being the standard base with drawer, or actually this area will be used for trash, but that's all 1 cabinet here. This is 1 cabinet, and this is 1 divided base cabinet. This cabinet here, this part right here, is a 3-box cabinet. This cabinet is a blind corner cabinet. In other words, if you open this up, it goes back into the corner a ways with a 3-drawer bank, and this time we call this a combo drawer bank because there are 2 drawers in the upper drawer area. This is your standard sink cabinet with the fox drawers. And over here, this is typical cabinet where you might put cookie sheets or something like that in there. And a diagonal base cabinet, which forms a small island, which has been trimmed with paneling on the back. Corner cabinets, standard cabinets here, corner cabinets here and here. And I've already explained this is a divided upper, and this is a standard upper cabinet. So we've got a little bit of everything. And we're going to go through this entirely. And I'm going to do it in multi-parts, and I'll try to keep the pace somewhat slow so that you can actually, the whole goal here is to learn CabWriter with all of his little secrets, if you will. So let's get started. Probably the best way to start out is to look at how you start a CabWriter project. Oh, before I do that, let's stay with this for the moment. Once you have actually created the cabinet design with all the cabinets and all of the trim and everything else you want to put in it, you want to create a number of scenes. And here are a set of typical scenes. I've got 4 perspective scenes. Perspective being, 2D perspective. You're the kind of scene that makes things look the way the eye would see them. I've got 4 of them here. I've got a north wall, a west wall, and an east wall. So I've got one scene called the northwest perspective. In other words, it looks in this corner between the north wall and the west wall. I've got a northeast perspective, which looks in this corner between the east wall and the north wall. And then to see the fronts of this cabinet and the island, I have a from above southwest perspective. In other words, it looks at the west wall. I'm sorry. That really should say southeast perspective, because it's actually looking at the east wall and the south area. So that's mislabeled. It should say southeast perspective. And here you can see the oven, the hood, and the front of the diagonal cabinet. And of course, now we've got the southeast, but what is really the southwest perspective. And you can see the island, the refrigerator, and the microwave oven, and what have you. So these are just various perspectives to give the client a good view. Of course, you can always rotate around here and get a good view too. And then we get to the important views for creating shop drawings. First thing we want to do is create cut lists. And normally what we want in a cut list is all of the hardwood, all of the sheet goods, all of the trim, or anything else that's in the project that is going to exist as raw materials in your shop so that you can mill parts. And that's what we put in the cut list. And from there we can create a cut list. And it's simple. I'll show you what you want to do from this cut list scene. And by the way, the cut list scene probably wants to be drawn in isometric or what we would call parallel projection. And in fact, all the scenes except these scenes, these perspective scenes, want to be drawn in parallel projection. In order to create a cut list, all we need to do at this point is select everything, edit, select all, and then say File, Cutlist Bridge, export to either Cutlist Plus FX or export to Microsoft Excel or OpenOffice, one of these two, whatever it is you have that supports your process. I'm going to say export to Cutlist Plus FX. And very quickly, I get this dialog box that says a cut list has been written to. Now it's going to place that file called CabWriter Comprehensive.cwx, meaning CabWriter export. And it's going to place it in the same folder that the model itself is in. So wherever this model is, you will have a CabWriter Comprehensive.cwx. The reason for CabWriter Comprehensive is that's the name of this model, and it's the name of this course, so it's the name I used for this file. And I'll show that to you in a moment. The next thing we want is we want to export our DXF files for CNC cutting. Now, in the CNC view, what we want are sheet goods, because that's what we're going to cut on a CNC machine. So this just has all of the sheet goods. And as we go through designing this model, or drawing this model, actually it's already designed. As we go through drawing this model, you'll see what happens with sheet goods and what layers they go on and so on and so forth. But let's not pay attention to that now. All we really want is to be able to select the DXF scene, say Edit, select All, File, Cutlist Bridge, Export to DXF. And again, this time what it's going to do is it's going to put a folder in the same place that this file, this model is. So wherever your model exists, it will put a folder with a bunch of DXF files in it, in that folder. So the folder you will find in the same place that the model is stored. So let's now go look at the files we produced. We'll start with the Cutlist file. Here in the CabWriter folder, where the model is, here's the model that we've been looking at, we find the CabWriter comprehensive.cwx file. All we need to do is click on that. And the CabWriter Cutlist plus FX file opens up, and we can see all of our parts. And there are a lot of them. I can do a number of things, like I can sort by part numbers. If I go to the top here, some pieces don't have a part number or a subassembly. Those are just simply the crown molding pieces that are around the top. But all of the cabinet pieces have part numbers, starting with C1, and not necessarily going in order, because the way sorting is done with characters like this is you go from C1 to C10 to C11 and so forth, and then start at C2. But anyway, they are sorted by cabinet number. C1 is cabinet 1, dash 1, which is part 1 of cabinet 1. And you can see cabinet 1 has, somewhere in the neighborhood of, well, cabinet 1 has 55 parts. And each part has a subassembly number. For instance, C1L, L means lower cabinet, and B means box. So this is box 1, box 2, box 3. It's a 3-box cabinet. So these are the box parts. These are the draw parts, the draw front parts, face frame parts, so on and so forth, toe kick. So they're organized by subassembly. And then the component name in this description field here, the number of copies, thickness, width, and length, material type, material name, some issues around whether or not they can be rotated, whether they have grain or not and can be rotated, whether or not banding is used. And then in some cases, parts are resized. You don't want to cut things perhaps initially to final dimensions. You want to cut them to some working dimensions and then later cut them to final dimensions. Well, if there is a character here, WL or T, it says something's been cut oversized or perhaps undersized for some reason. And it'll tell you which dimension has been cut over or undersized. In this case, the length has been cut oversized. In this case, the width. In this case, the width and length. And in this case, the thickness, width, and length. And then the final dimensions are over here. There's a tags field for things like shop specific processes. For instance, one of the things you might want to do is match grain on a face frame on the end styles as it goes around the corner. You may want to match the grain. You can use this field to do that. Okay, so that's all of the parts, but what we really want are layouts. And there we have it, the layouts. Now, I got a bunch of different types of material here. I'm going to choose the maple pre-finished 3/4 inch material. We'll see all of the sheets that are used in this design. There are 19 of them. And you can see each sheet here, and if you want to see each sheet in detail, like this one perhaps, you can bring it up here and look at it in detail. Notice if we start at the bottom and look at this, look at how the sheets are used very efficiently, very little space left over. All the way up to the top, the last sheet has some offcuts. But that's it. Everything else has been used and used very efficiently. So this program called Cutlist Plus FX, not part of CabWriter and it's not part of SketchUp. It's Bridgewood Design designed and sells this. Is a very, very useful application. Of course, the most important part of it is plywood optimization, but it also gives you things like a bill of materials. It tells you what this thing is going to cost in terms of materials. It also creates some really nice information that allows you to create a project costing. If you provide things like taxes and other things and hourly wages and that kind of stuff and how long it takes to do each sub-assembly, you get a project costing sheet with all kinds of reports that you can choose. But the most important part and the most efficient part is this layouts thing. All right, so that's one type of cut list. If you're going to go to a CNC machine, you might want to go to something like CutToPro. And that's why we produced this folder with all of the DXF files. We're going to look at the 3/4 inch maple plywood pre-finished again, but this time in CutToPro. Again, a third-party application. Let's start a new project here. And the material is going to be roughly a 4x8 sheet of plywood. We will import vectors from this folder that we exported. And I'm going to use the 3/4 inch maple plywood pre-finished. And I want to preview them. This will take about 10 seconds here as it works. You can see it working along the bottom here. And there we go. This is sheet number 1 right here. And if I want to see some other sheets, I can scale this down. Let me scale it up just a little bit and see if I can center it. This is a very difficult program to operate in terms of centering. Okay, so this is sheet number 1. And this up here you can see is sheet number 19. So again, it uses 19 sheets. But you can see it's laid them out you can see the part number, the part name, the component name, and all the holes that are going to be drilled by the CNC machine and the shapes that are going to be cut out by the CNC machine. All of these diagonal shapes and what have you. And again, it's optimized to 19 sheets with very little offcut. So this particular program, CutToPro, produces the software necessary to go directly to a CNC machine. I'm not totally aware of all the different types of CNC machines it supports, but a large number. Okay, so let's go back to our model. And the next thing we want to look at are elevations, because one of the things we're going to want to do is create professional looking drawings. And we'll do that in layout. We could do it here in SketchUp, but if you're a professional, you'll want to buy SketchUp Pro, which comes with the layout program, and you can do dimensioning and things like that in layout with a very professional set of drawings with title blocks and things like that. And to do that, we create these elevation drawings. That's the north elevation, looking at the front of the north wall. The west elevation. The south elevation, that's looking at the island, standing in front of the kitchen sink, looking at the island. The east elevation. And then you want some plan views. Here's the base plan. And CabWriter produces these for you and puts them on layers for you. It automatically creates the scenes and the layers with the names that you provide. The other nice thing it does is normally when you see a section in SketchUp, you get a view inside the parts, which you really don't want in professional looking cabinet drawings. You don't want to look into the parts. So what it does is it fills in automatically, it fills in the holes where you create a section. And that keeps your drawing rather neat and allows you to dimension it. Here's the upper plan. And you can do a combination plan, which is often important. So those are basically the major views you will use in a cabinet project. I want to show you a couple of examples, not of this kitchen, but of other kitchens that we've done with CabWriter, and show you the professional drawings that are done in layout. And then if time permits, we'll start drawing cabinets here. And if not, we will start in part 2. Now, this model was drawn in CabWriter, and then it was exported to layout, where it was dimensioned and professional looking drawings created. You can see the legend over here with the various types of hatching that are used in this set of drawings, and any hardware notes and what have you, general notes. And the logo, the title block for New England School of Architectural Woodworking, and some information about the customer, and the usual information about when the drawings were created and what have you. So let's just take a look through. These are scenes that are exported from SketchUp into layout. So you can have a cover page here that sort of gives them all the various views like the ones we just looked at in the model that we're using for this course. Let's go to the next sheet. By the way, this is a PDF file that was exported from layout. Here you can see the plan view for the base, the sink, 4-draw bank, some pullouts, appliances and things. You see all the dimensions, and again, you see here on the same legend and what have you for the each drawing. Let's just walk through these quickly. This is the upper cabinets, I believe. Yep, this is the plan view for the upper. And now we're looking at the ladder bases, the layout of all of those. Now we have some plan views, or not plan views, but elevation views of the sink wall, elevation view of the range wall, elevation view of the fridge wall, Notice the wine rack here. And I want to go to another drawing and show you some sections that were done. Here we're actually in the layout program. And there's like 4 sections I want to give you a view of here. You can see the sectioning here, filled in with the hatching. That's the range wall, the sink wall, fridge wall, and a peninsula. Let's zoom in a little bit. And you can see the various styles of hatching that were used. And they're all over in the key for the page right here. You can do these very nicely in layout. Much more difficult in SketchUp. SketchUp doesn't provide, well, it doesn't provide any hatching capability. There is some features built into CabWriter that helps you do hatching in SketchUp, but I will be the first to admit it's not very good. Hopefully by the time revision 2.0 is out, it'll be much better. But hatching is an important part of professional drawing, so I just wanted to show that to you. Here we are back at our course model. I've corrected these 2 scenes, the naming of them, and I've added a ladder-based scene. This is all that is in this is the ladder base itself. And that's necessary in a professional set of drawings, so you can see how those are constructed. And you can see them now in 3D. So now that I've got that corrected and the ladder base added, I'm going to provide you with this model so that you, as we go through the course and we draw cabinets, you can follow along with the completed model. Since this video is now about 28 minutes long or something like that, I'm going to leave the actual, I'm going to leave beginning of the actual drawing to part 2. This will probably be, I'm guessing, a 4 to 5 part series. And so we'll try to keep them to about a half-hour apiece. Okay, have a good afternoon, and I'll see you in part 2.